Welcome to the Atlanteans, a podcast about War Machine and the Iron Kingdoms, created by the Hampton Road Atlantean gaming community. And now to our hosts. Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of the Atlanteans. This is episode 16. I have with me Joe. How you doing, Joe?
Good, Jay. Working on my battle brig, doing a lot of sculpting, a little bit of conversions. I'm turning it into a bull croak battle balloon. That's my goal.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So that's what I'm noodling away at tonight. How are you, man?
I'm doing okay. I have some models in front of me. I have some Orgoth solos sitting here that I should be painting, but I just am not motivated.
Yeah, I don't know. You gotta take advantage of the motivation when it's there, and
yeah.
I don't know. I don't fight it too much when it's not.
Yeah, pretty much. I got them out so I could paint them because they're like some of the only models that aren't painted for my Orgoth. I don't have at least some paint on them for my Orgoth now, and I looked at them and I was like, not tonight, which is unfortunate, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's better not to force it and just let it come and go, But yeah, I feel you a little bit. Like I'm about halfway through my brines, and I'm at like that sticking point where it's like, wow, I got a lot left to do still. I got some tough projects ahead of me, like.
But are they fun projects? Are they things you're excited for?
Oh, I mean, they are. Like, I'm pretty darn excited for this balloon. I'm taking off all the pigs and I'm putting on bull croaks instead. So I ordered extra fire spitters and shamans and I'm putting those on.
Okay.
And I'm making a few modifications to the balloon itself, and I'm gonna have a fancy base for it. So I'm really excited for the end goal. I'm like, it's actually, but I'm learning, but it's like a lot of new skills I never tried, right? I've never really done sculpting, and so I'm like muddling my way through that. It's not going to be great, but I'm like learning,
If you have any questions or need any tips, I've done some of it in the past.
Yeah, I've seen your cloaks on your Kador. They look awesome. Mm-hmm. They're really good. Definitely will be asking you for your thoughts. It's hard to kit bash with resin models.
It is. It's very hard. And even just like changing them up so you can tweak a head or I've done it on I've succeeded on a couple models, but you basically have to almost destroy another model to get the parts you need to fix one model.
Oh, Jay, that's literally what I'm doing right now. So I have fire spitters I want to put on my balloon. All of these nerds are carrying enormous shields, and there's just no space for them on the boat. So I have to clip off their shield arm, and then I have arms from a shaman unit that I bought, and I'm clipping off their left arms, and I'm doing I'm going to do a little bit of surgery and stick the two together.
Well, that means you'll have parts for custom objectives or something like that.
Yeah, totally. And I mean the heads on the shamans and the torches are both really useful, but it's it's this different thing where then taking little bits and mixing and matching them, right? It's like destroying other models to hope that this stuff works. So it's a little bit more intense,
So that's one of the disadvantages of the way they've moved to models. Because back when we had to build the models and put the parts together, and they'd give us extra parts, so we'd always have extra parts that we could use to convert things. But then also in the building of the model, you were like, oh well, that arm naturally isn't there, so I can just put something else on for that arm. Or if the arm broke, you were like, oh well, I understood how to convert that little piece because I already had to build the model anyways. Now it comes fully built for me, and I'm like, do I destroy this model? So for me, my winter core, one of the nice things about the Mark IV armies is a lot of the armies have enough models that you don't have to field duplicates or more than two of any one pose across a couple of units or whatever. So back in the day, there were 3 poses total, and you had lots of duplicates in your army. So it's cool that it's like that. But if you, for example, want to have 2 of the same solo, and there's only 1 pose of the solo, to make that the different, sometimes you'll the easiest way you used to do it back in the day was just to put a different head on it, or put a different version of the sword on it, or something like that. But to do that with a Mark IV army, you basically have to be like, well, I want that head off that model, but that model is destroyed and won't have a head, or I have to like cut the body away to get at the head cleanly so I can put it on this model.
Man.
And I did that with a couple of my Winter Corps guys, and I'm like, I got to a point where I was like, well, there's a whole unit of Winter Guard infantry I just can't use anymore.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's like, it's tough, right? Like, it's not necessarily easy to pop the head off a model,
absolutely.
Right? Like some of these guys got thick necks, like.
Right, you have to basically cut apart the model and chip up to where the head is, and it really is chipping because of the resin. It doesn't always break cleanly.
Doesn't break smoothly.
Right.
So I have a unit of the two things I need to do to finish my 100 points.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's three, but the two that I'm going to talk about are I need to finish my balloon. And then I have a unit of Marauders, and I have a bunch of Tiki masks that I got 3D printed for them, and I want to put the Tiki masks on all the Marauders, which is sick. They came in the mail. They look really nice, ready to go. I have to like shave the faces off the Marauder unit, and it's like terrifying, right? Because what if I screw that up? You know,
so the easiest way to do that is either just to pop the whole head off and use GFs in the back or whatever, or actually sand the face off with a piece of sandpaper.
No, that's totally the plan. I'm gonna use like a knife to get a little bit of it that started, and then I'm gonna put on my mask and like do a little sandpapering and get it done. But it's just like,
did you get any slightly bigger masks for your light beasts?
Oh, I did, and I got some big masks for my heavies.
Woo!
So
I'm excited, man. I'm ready.
I'm stoked about it. Yeah, especially to face. I don't know. Maybe some people like that turtle face on the Reef Troll, but
no,
I'm not me, sir. I got a big old tiki mask to stick there. So
yeah, are you gonna glue them on?
Well, I think I'm gonna take one of the matey heads that I don't really like, and I'm gonna sandpaper the face off and stick this over it. Like,
got it. Very cool.
So, they're all doable things, but I don't know if they'll work. I'm probably going to break a model in a way that I'm not going to be happy with, and that's going to kind of suck, So it's just like getting through all of that pain to get the cool model and then do the painting, which I'm like getting more and more confident for these guys.
Right.
So
yeah, totally.
And it's still the thing that like to finish this army, it's I've probably got more than 100 hours of work left.
Well, I mean, the third option is probably like 100 hours of work.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it's good. It's like I'm enjoying the hobby projects, but like after Nova, like I'm probably gonna sit back and play video games for a couple months and like just chill. Bringing it back around to the discussion of like sometimes you just don't paint, right? And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. So Joe, what have you been doing besides working on this awesome army that we all love, and I can't wait to see the next evolution of? Have you been playing games? Have you been what else have you been doing?
Yeah, I mean, so this has been the big pillar of my hobby lately is working on the army, but still playing games. Games both at the store. I've made it at 5 times this year, which is not bad for me, even if it's like not as good as you'd like.
It's not, but
and yeah, I know, but it's just life, right? And then playing my one weekly online game in the NOL, the North American War Machine League. Let me see. So I switched from Bagada Bomb or Mbop or Ball with the Ball, everybody's favorite. So to playing Firequill this year in the NOL. Haven't played him in real life yet. And I think I probably lost 5 or 6 games in a row. Like, but I learned a lot of good things during those games. I learned that I think broadsides is a trap.
Yep, pretty much.
And the even bigger trap is trying to get Blood Boon to trigger with this guy. Mm-hmm. Because it means like you've put your Warcaster in danger and then you're trying to hit on like a Rat 7 POW 10 gun and kill something. And like by the time you get done with it, you've probably spent more than your 3 Fury that you would have just to cast like broadsides, which is usually what you're going for. So I learned not to try to go for those plays.
So if broadsides is a trap and going for Blood Boon is a trap, what do you do with him?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, because those seem like the good things, right?
Right. I mean, on paper, when you first look at him, you're like, "Oh, that's cool. He's got this, and he can do broadsides, and everything can shoot." Like,
Yeah, and he
what
like
is
shoots his gun, and then his
right,
whole army shoots, and he gets to shoot like
right,
4 times in the broadside shot, and so he's got 5 shots.
and then he gets
Yeah.
the blood boon off the spell and blah blah. Like, what
Hmm.
is it you actually do with him?
Okay, so things that I think are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Having a boostable knockdown gun that you can shoot twice is really good.
Okay.
So he's got that, and you can put and sorry, what am I thinking? And that has snipe, so like that's pretty reliable. And so that's like really nice for just like making enabling your other models. So I think that's like pretty exciting on him.
Mm-hmm.
He has one of his guns has flare, and it's like basically the only piece of anti-stealth tech in the whole entire faction.
In the army,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, in the whole army. So that part of him is really good and enables his army to do work. And Headhunter, when
Yeah.
it's on, or character, but not Headhunter, Fortune Hunter.
Let me before we
Mhm.
we move on from the flare, the other cool bit about the flare is it's on a spray weapon, so it's on a weapon that
Yeah.
naturally ignores the stealth anyways.
Yeah, so it's actually useful,
Right,
right?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
as opposed to the Scorn Slingers that have flare on like a range 10 non-stealth ignoring weapon on that's Rat 5, and
Right,
like,
exactly.
yeah, this is a lot better than that.
So
Um,
then you were mentioning Fortune Hunter?
and then Fortune Hunter is really sweet. Um, it feels so good to just pick the Furies off the table. Like,
Yeah.
you get additional die to hit, additional die damage. It's really good. I killed I think it's Rassic, the the caster from Chimera that's mounted on the dragon. I straight up killed him with my warcaster. He was on a one camp. I feeded, I shot him 4 times and he died. And it's like
Oh,
it's actually like
it's actually not mounted on a cav model. It's actually a
oh,
centaur.
he's like a centaur, right?
Yeah,
Like a
yeah,
dragon centaur.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean like I just killed that guy and with my warcaster and that was sweet. So people got to respect that part of it.
Yeah.
And then the feat that adds +2 to ranged attack and damage rolls, it's a real good force multiplier for himself and for like the beasts in his army. So I think those things are all good. I no longer try to do things where I feel like I die with this guy when I try to like feat and like proc blood boon and shoot all my guns and then like also then have my beasts go and I'm like all if you give up on if you give up on broadsides and blood boon, the order of activation issues really go away, and also the like putting my caster in positions where he might die issues go away, and so that's great.
Yeah.
Um,
I also really like that his feat basically gives his battle group his ammo type, so he either has flare or incendiary as well.
yeah, I always forget that, but
Yeah.
it's really good. Like it's really good. I need to take advantage of that.
Yep.
Um, I did. So eventually, I stopped losing, and then I've won a couple of games since then, which is exciting. And the last one I played against Zadaroth, and
Mm-hmm.
she does that horrendous thing where she like feats and gives her whole army +3 defense, and then she also has that light horror that gives everybody within 4 inches of it -2 to attack if they're
Mm-hmm.
living, and all my models are living. And you're just like stuck against this wall of defense 17 and 18, and this guy just doesn't care. Like, um, I killed Valen Hulk, the guy who prevents knockdown with my Warcaster.
Mm-hmm.
I then started shooting other things and knocking them down. And then and I'm shooting with a bunch of like Rat 11 and Rat 13 guns, and it just breaks through it, no problem. So, um, I don't think he's like the best caster in the faction, but I'm finding a niche for him and I'm enjoying him. So that's nice.
Very cool.
And then the other thing I'm doing is in the null this week I'm playing Gravediggers, so really interested to see how that matchup goes. I'll read a little bit about them. I want to experience them. They look pretty scary, but you know, I think
you listen to the most recent Euro Machine episode. I know that I've turned you onto them and you really like them. They have like a...
Oh yeah, no, those guys are great.
Yeah.
I listened to half of it.
Okay.
Because it's like 3 hours, man.
It is. Some of their episodes are pretty long.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of it all, but
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like there's a lot of really scary stuff there. So
right.
definitely, definitely respecting them when they come out.
Yeah. But yeah, I think.
How about you?
Of...
What is?
Well, okay. So for me, I mean, I've been playing Orgoth, mostly in person. I played them. I played in the first, like the January Null League. Didn't do very well. I was trying to play other stuff and not Harusk, which is pretty much the only caster that's really good. So a lot of people are playing him with the Colossal, and I've played one game now with the Colossal.
Oh yeah, I wanted to hear how that went.
Well, I mean, so in the long run, I won the game.
Hey,
the one issue with the win is that he took the 80mm Crick solo. This is JD, one of our locals that we've mentioned in the past, and we'll be on a
he's
a
playing.
Sooner or later.
He's playing Eviscerus against you, right?
Yeah, he played Eviscerus against me, and basically Eviscerus 3 jacks, including the what's he?
Including Grendel. Yeah, Grendel and 2 Malefactors, right?
And Grendel is...
Good thing I know about this.
Grendel is surprised. Yeah, I mean, I did share it to you, and you basically told me what I should watch out for. But yeah, and I missed a lot of it. Like even after we talked, I didn't really understand what Grendel did until we played. And yeah, the fact that he basically is a weapon master is really disgusting. He has finisher.
Yep. Extremely disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah. PAL 60. So yeah.
Really scary Jack.
So effectively he did the thing that so I bubble wrapped. I moved the Colossal up. I bubble wrapped it with a bunch of stuff.
Seems smart.
I feeded too early, so I didn't have my feet up.
Oh no.
I feeded turn 1 because he basically I won the roll to go first or second. I decided to go second, which is probably the wrong thing against Cricks every game. Whatever. I moved up. He moved way up to like the half line, and I was like, well, he's just gonna. He had a lot more. He didn't have the what do they call it? The sludge thralls like he normally does, which but he had a lot of the spikers. He had a jack with a spiker. He had 2 lights with spikers.
Yeah, people have been playing those guys,
and they do some work. And so he was like right. I basically moved a couple of things up 5 inches. Some stuff actually moved backwards. I put the unit that I advanced deployed, the Nashers, actually moved backwards so that I wasn't just sacrificing to him the next turn. And I feeded because I was like, well, I want my army to survive so that I can, because you're going to have to continue to move up so that I can charge in and attack you. And
you want to get out of your deployment zone so you can play scenario the next round.
I want to score. So like I feeded so that I could do that, and he basically like stepped back and was like, okay, well, I'm going to get alpha no matter what you do.
Yeah, that is how that goes.
I stayed out of my threat, and so I had to go in then because it was the top of the bottom of 2 scoring. I pushed up a little bit. I didn't push up as much as I could have. I sort of bubble wrapped the Colossal. I got into a couple of his things that he wasn't expecting me to.
Nice.
But like it. So I was up there, and then he just was like, "Well, I'll just kill this unit of guys, and then Grendel will charge in anyways, no matter what if he bubble wrapped it." And he got the Colossal with Grendel by himself with just Redline on him. And
Redline, no siding touch.
No siding touch, just Redline. And he did have blessing, so he was ignoring the +2 armor from my spell. Oh, he did.
It's really dirty. Did he get any shreds off on you?
He got 4 shreds off on me, which is why he killed it. But
okay, well that's way above average. But yeah, gross, really gross.
Yeah, he got 4 shreds. Yeah, it was.
So what'd you do?
So then I basically, he put a lot of his stuff into me. I had 1.5 units of Axers. I had my unit of Nashers. I had my, so I basically just started attritioning him. and we were playing Payload, and I just started feeding things into his payload, so his thing wasn't moving forward. And my side, I basically destroyed everything that was on my side, and so I got in with Payload, got the 3 extra points from that.
Oh, nice. You got scenario pressure on him then.
So you're right.
That's awesome.
So I got scenario pressure on him. The one thing that's the issue is about halfway through the game we realized that he didn't put his 80mm base solo on the table. And so a lot of my infantry,
for shame,
right? A lot of my infantry stuff that was surviving and doing a lot of the work probably wouldn't have done as well because he would have had all the bomb thralls every turn. So
whatever.
It
probably
would have been blowing that stuff up.
He lost it fair and square.
I mean, it was his fault for that, but I ended up winning like 10 to 6 or something like that on scenario.
It's awesome, man. I'm glad you pulled it out. It's like tough to stick with it when you have that kind of opening part of the game, right?
Like back broke me at the first 2 turns, and then I just sort of survived and kept going. And because I was second player and got to score first, and then also because he was more focused on trying to kill my caster, and I was more focused on trying to score objective points. That I was able just to sort of claw objective points over and over and constantly contest his stuff or kill his stuff, etc. So yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to play those games where you can't come out of your deployment zone on the first turn. Like,
and the other thing
is there's no easy answer to that. I always try to hold my feet until the scenario scoring turn, but still, it feels really bad.
Yeah, so the other issue is that with his army, he has Ghost Walk. He has Ghost Walk on his rack, and so
good.
So you can Ghost Walk in the past just sort of lets you like move through terrain and things, but the new one lets you move through enemy models, and so. I basically, my caster, who is a Rusk, who likes to normally play sort of towards the front and support and stand behind the line of his army and give it rerolls and kill a couple of things and then sort of like teleport back away and sort of get back behind the lines, couldn't do that because he constantly had a heavy jack like 18 inches from him or so, and so if I moved up at all, he'd just ghost walk the heavy jack, charge through, and kill my caster.
Yeah.
And so he basically forced me to like leave my caster in the backfield and not play with it effectively.
Wow.
Which was rough.
Yeah. No, it's hard. I mean, it's smart that you were able to recognize that, right? Like, I mean, I didn't recognize those kinds of situations with Firepool, right? And so I would just die. Like, even if your caster's thing is like getting in part of the game, you got to know when you can't do it. So it's dope that you recognize that.
Absolutely. It's identifying that kind of stuff. So besides playing in all games, and working on your amazing Trollbloods, what else have you been doing like hobby wise? Is there anything else that's been
I'll talk about some of my league games. So we have an escalation league. I played quite a few of the weeks. I didn't get the last one. The last game I remembered playing was against Sebastian, our local. Really nice guy. He makes really interesting terrain like boards to play on, so I always appreciate that. Like they tell really good stories. The terrain is really dense, which makes for a really interesting experience.
And you fell in love with that mission. You kept playing that one mission over and over.
I played the like 30-point SFG mission. But what's it called, Jay? Do you know the name?
I can look it up. You keep talking about it.
So this is a mission where there's an attacker and a defender. And the defender gets 3 flags, and they place them next to scenario pieces.
Yeah, this is the preview journeyman mission, if anyone is wondering.
If anyone is familiar with it, yeah. And it's really fun because the defender chooses one of them to be like their target objective. And as the attacker, you go and if you control an objective, you can check it at the end of your turn. You get to check 1 per turn. And if you find the right one, you win. And then the defender scores points by controlling these objectives at the end of every round. And they have to get a ton of points, but it's like really possible to get the 16 points or whatever you need to win.
Yep.
Anyhow, Sebastian.
Lost Patrol. Lost Patrol.
Lost Patrol. Yeah. Yep. It's really fun. I played it at 75 and 50 and 25 and 30 points, and I really enjoyed it at all of them.
Which is crazy because I played it at 30, and it's tough at 30. And I was like, well, it'll probably work for 50 points. So I was like, let's make it like you can use it for 50. But you played it at 75, and it seems like it worked at 75.
Yeah, no, we had fun with it. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it would hold up to really like strong competitive play at 75. I have no idea. I mean, I have no intention of ever playing that.
Right,
so
right.
I don't care really, right?
To do it. Yeah. It's a fun mission. It's a mission that's supposed to be, you're rolling dice, I'm rolling dice. We're going back and forth, and you're sort of looking for my flag, and I'm trying to sort of ghost you out and try and telegraph the wrong flag, effectively.
Yeah, it's really flavorful, and and you get to do this like bluffing kind of stuff, and I think it really encourages you to play scenario, but it's also like it's pretty easy to explain compared to a lot of the steamroller ones, right?
Yeah, I think
it gets people thinking in that scenario mindset. So I really have been enjoying it.
I played a game of it too, I think at 50 points, where it basically was like I was hunting after his caster who was sort of running away from me. It was like the only piece he had on it, and he kept ghost walking himself and like phasing back and forth through a building. So like I'd put some stuff around one side of the building, and then he'd phase back through the other side. And then, like, I think I also played a game against Sebastian, and he was using that the mounted character solo on the snake for
the
Chimera.
Incarnate Conjurer.
Yeah, and he would like oh no,
he loves that thing. It's beautifully painted.
Not that guy. The
Paragon?
No, the character solo. What's his name? Let me go here.
Yes, I killed this guy with Fire Pill. Not in my game with Sebastian, but
what's his name?
Rasik? No, that's the Warcaster.
Riven.
Riven.
Riven, like straight up, I didn't understand what he did, and he just walked in and murdered a unit because he's speed 6 and he's mat 8, he's 13, 17. Like I understood that. I knew that he had jumps, so I knew that he could get over there to me. What I didn't understand is he had a mat 8 range 2 POW 14 magical weapon master with Thresher. So he like jumped into the middle of one of my important units and just murdered the whole unit. And I was like, oh, love it. Great.
Love
it.
And
then I spent the rest of the game chasing him as he like would move up to buildings and then use pounce to hop over the building.
Oh man, sounds really fun. You don't see enough of that guy. He has Mortal Fear too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he has Mortal Fear as an ability, just as a normal ability. He has Prowl, Repo 3, and then he has a second attack that has Pounce. So if he use the jump ability, the weapons damage rolls are automatically boosted. So yeah, he basically has a POW 12 automatically boosted damage roll if the model jumps, and then he also has a POW 14 Thresher. Magical weapon master Thresher on top of that.
Yeah,
very cool.
He's awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay. So back to my game with Sebastian. Right. We had we were playing on a table with Soul Cairn in the middle of it, and I was playing Baga Waga, and I felt like I had to go put my Warcaster on the middle of that Soul Cairn and just stare at his army. And so I did. I had Iron Flesh on myself. I had the set defense. I think I had the set. No, I don't think I had the set defense buff. I had sneak, so I had potentially stealth. Just like ran up into the middle of that thing. I've got cover. I'm on a hill. Like I thought, I'm camping 7. I thought, what could go wrong? And because like I know I'm kind of in charge range of his whole army, but there's just like no space, right?
Yep.
Sebastian introduces me to Talon Lashers who have drag, and he like feats and they charge me, and one drags me off the Soul Cairn, and suddenly I'm in the middle of the nowhere. And he didn't end up doing this, but he could have chain dragged me, like, and gotten me way off of it. and then proceeds to pound my head in with his entire army. Like, I survived a good long while. It really did take a lot of them, but yeah, it was quite effective. So we had a lot of fun that game. It was a good one. And then before that, Jay, you and I played, and we played the messenger mission.
Yep.
Do you want to describe this thing?
Okay, so it's one of the early battleground scenarios that came out. You have 3 rows of 3 objectives. It's designed to be flags. I think we used small base objectives. Basically, as long as they're all the same size, it works out. And so the idea of how this mission works is you nominate a model, either a warrior model or a solo, a non-leader, non-cohort model, to be your messenger. And so that model has to go at the beginning of your second turn. You roll a D3, and it figures out one of the 3 objectives closest to you that you have to move the model to and basically score for on your turn. You have to spend its activation interacting with the model. So that becomes and then after you do that, you roll for the middle row, and then that model then has to go to the middle row. And then after that model has to go to your opponent's row that's closest to them, and then try and get into the deployment zone of the enemy, off the enemy's table edge.
It is an insane journey for a solo.
It is an insane journey for a solo or a trooper model, right? And so if the messenger is killed, your opponent gets a point. You get a point for every time you score one of these places, and I think you get 3 points for if you get your opponent's line, the line's closer to their table edge. And then you get 3 points for going off the edge or something. Or I think you just win if you get off the edge.
I think you just win if you get off the edge, which you really should, because it's so hard.
Crazy. Right. And so, but the nature of this thing is like, you're not really sure which one of your flags, because the flags are evenly spaced in lines across the table. And so you're not sure which one is going to be the one you have to go to first. So if you're lucky and it's close to you, you can get it done on turn 1 or maybe turn 2. But then you're rolling for another one, and it could be the one that's right in front of you, or it could be the one that's all the way on the far side, and your opponent's army is sort of moving towards where your guy is, and so you're like walking directly into the middle of their army. Yeah, and so our game was pretty much...
I feel like I've had that experience.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, like, if your messenger dies, you nominate a new model to be your messenger, which is cool. But it's a crazy scenario. I think it was a lot of fun. It's a fun scenario.
I totally had fun.
Yeah.
I had Mazabaga, and she was my messenger, and she was trying to get across, and her first one was easy.
Yeah.
And then the second one was in like the middle of Jay's army. No, it wasn't. It was Jay's army was between her and the second one. Right. And I don't know. It was just really fun. It was crazy.
Yeah. And then my messenger was Vesperia, the character chick for Orgoth, I forget her name.
Therian Varnick?
Yeah, Varnick. And it was the farthest objective from where she was, and I think it took me like 3 turns just to get her over there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I think we both got to the center and the middle line, and that was it.
Yeah, and then we couldn't progress because our armies were basically on top of the flag that we both had to go to.
Yes, and we were just... It was total war.
Yeah.
And Jay had killed pretty much everything I had, and I had like Baga Waga like going in and out and trying to kill stuff and make up ground, but I was just losing pieces too fast.
Yeah.
So I really like that scenario too. I think it's probably like a little less replayable, but I would definitely play more of it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that it's a fun scenario that plays occasionally, but like if you play it a bunch in a row, I think you get a strategy for it, and so it becomes I'm just sort of put my army in the center of the table and stop people from going to flag 2 or flag 3. Like,
yeah, I think and the dominant strategy is just like kill your opponent's messenger over and over again,
and score point after point after point after point, which I think is how I ended up winning.
Which I mean, kudos to you. That is like the right strategy, and you totally nailed it. But I think it's why it's not like as evergreen as like
Right.
The other mission we talked about.
I agree.
It's still a mission I will play because like I love the flavor of it and I love the challenge of it.
Yeah.
You know, like so I really enjoyed that too. I'm a little bit they published a new scenario around Zacharias. Do you remember it?
Did they? All right, so the march here. So, bunch of Battleforge training elements. Setup scenario requires Zacharias, Winter Chill. Begin setup by placing Zacharias in the center of the map. Scenario uses execution mode. So this is the where the caster doesn't just die. You have to your other person's caster has to kill it.
Oh, okay.
During each player's maintenance phase, Zacharias must be moved D6 plus 3 in a random direction. During this movement, Zacharias advances through any intervening models with an equal or smaller base size. If he has enough movement to completely past it, and he's a large base. So if Zacharias contacts an obstruction or a model with a larger base size, we only determine a new trajectory for the remainder of the movement.
Okay, like bounces off.
Yep. Yeah. If on any turn Zacharias is prevented from moving at least 6 inches due to terrain or intervening models, immediately place Zacharias at his starting point at the center of the map and move him D6 plus 3 in a random direction. So, like...
Okay, you can't, like, box him in.
You can't box him in, because then he just teleports back to the center and moves again.
Okay, that seems like it's designed to prevent some abuse, yeah.
During each player's activation, that player can make one combat action using Zacharias, and then can use his reposition special rule. He's never considered a friendly model. Once per turn, the first player to play... So Zacharias, I don't know if you know, he has... I've been looking at him because he's going to be in Old Umbry.
No, is he? Okay.
Yeah, so I think right now he plays for Chimera? I'm not wrong. I could be wrong. Let's see. Yes, he plays for Chimera. So he basically he has Battle Wizard, Cleave. He's Grimkin model. He has 3 magic abilities. So he has Breathtaker. So for 1 round, living enemy models suffer -2 defense and -2 to melee attack damage rolls while within 5 inches of him.
Seems good.
Yep. He's got Hoarfrost, which is a range 8, AoE 2, POW 14/8 arcane attack that causes cold damage. On a critical hit, you stationary. Models are stationary for 1 round, unless they have resistance cold. And then he has Winter Storm, which is enemy models begin their activations with a 10 of him, lose eyeless sight, flight, and Pathfinder, that activation. And then he has a POW 12 melee attack or a POW 14 melee attack, both with crit stationary. That are magic.
Okay, so he's like really toolsy, kind of.
Yeah, it's weird. He's the other thing about him is that and it obviously doesn't take effect in this mission, but he's ATT 7, he's MAT 7, he's speed 9 with Repo 3.
Wow, he is fast.
He's a 14/17, he has 8 damage boxes, and he's a speed 9. And you know he's cavalry, so he gets the cavalry bonus on charges. He has Pathfinder naturally. He's unstoppable, etc. So he's 6 points normally.
Yeah. So
let's see. Back to this mission.
It's a hefty price tag, but a cool model though. Does interesting things.
So you get to do one of the you either make an attack with or use one of his 3 spells. It looks like once per turn. First time you damage Zacharias with an attack, the opponent must place a 20mm stolen intelligence objective within 1 inch of Zacharias. If a player boxes...
So you shoot him and intel falls out.
Intel falls out of him, right. So if a player boxes Zacharias, instead of being destroyed, he becomes knocked down instead. If a player ends their turn with their leader model within 1 inch of Zacharias while he's knocked down, they gain 3 victory points. At the start of the next player's turn, remove all damage from Zacharias. If Zacharias is knocked down, Zacharias is no longer knocked down. So basically, it sounds like you're trying to, hunt him around the board. He can't die. He moves D6 plus 3 inches. in a random direction. You're basically trying to like shoot him, knock him down, like box him, knock him down, and then either grab
He's
the
like
intel.
sort of like a pinata, right? You
grab
you
the
like
intel,
punch him and a prize falls out and he like zooms away.
But your leader wants to be close to him as well, and so like the two leaders are trying to sort of like not get within range of getting assassinated by each other. But at the same time trying to be close to him so you get bonus points.
I don't know. It sounds fun. So I'd give it a go.
Totally. Yeah. Players can recover any stolen intelligence objectives secured by a warrior model at the end of their turn. For every recovered objective, the player scores 1 victory point.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we try give this one a shot this week. What do you think?
Yeah, no, totally. So one of the things that the battle
you have a Zacharias?
I do indeed have one.
Okay. Awesome. Painted?
He could be.
I mean, you don't need to. I'm just curious.
Totally. He's not painted right now, but he's on my list.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's a.
He does seem cool though.
He's
I don't know.
Cool.
And this mission seems fun.
So the other thing about these missions is not the early ones. So like the one that we played doesn't have this, but most of the later missions after like the first couple months of them releasing missions, one of the things they started doing is they started adding modifiers and achievements to these missions, so they sort of like
that's neat. I've not seen that.
Change how it plays. A lot of the later sort of the stuff after the first initial launch of the one that we played was like one of the first ones that came out, and some of the later ones have these. So mission modifiers. So roll a d3 to determine mission modifiers for this match. So on a if you roll a 1, each time a player damages Zacharias, the leader suffers their leader suffers d3 damage.
Wow. Okay.
So if you hurt him, if you attack him to get the points, your leader takes damage and has to heal, or is reduced in power.
Okay.
If you roll a 2, if Zacharias is within 5 inches of any or both leader models during that player's maintenance phase, instead of randomizing their movement, move him directly towards the chosen leader. So he moves directly towards the thing that can score on him, but the leader. He basically is going to like run right up to the enemy leader. And so the leader can attack him, and if he has the ability to knock him down and get the bonus points, he can do that. But if he doesn't, then Zacharias is going to be hurting him effectively. On a 3, Queen of Hearts, attacks made by Zacharias targeting a leader or cohort models gain boosted attack and damage rolls. So because you're activating him and getting to do stuff with him, you basically get the chance to assassinate the other leader. And so I think the reason that they're in execution mode is that maybe execution mode is that you can kill the leader. I'll have to look that up again. But if it's what I think it is, then only another leader can kill the opponent's leader. And so Zacharias couldn't kill him, but he basically, instead of him dying, your leader's knocked down and basically becomes like drunk and can't do anything for a round. And then
he kind of like takes him out of the fight a little bit,
right?
But
and then he spends some of his focus to heal himself, etc. All right, so then achievements. Roll a d3 to determine achievements for the match. So on a 1, first player to damage Zacharias gets an extra victory point. On a 2, the first player with a model destroyed by an attack made by Zacharias gets a victory point. On a 3, Lucky Rabbit's Foot, the first player at the end of their turn with at least 3 warrior models within 1 inch of Zacharias gains 2 victory points. Interesting.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So victory conditions. So decisive win. At the end of 5 rounds, the player with the most stolen intel wins.
That's like the main story kind of thing.
Right. So you're trying to get him to drop an intel, and you're trying to score that intel. Points advantage win at the end of the second player's turn. If that player has 7 or more victory points than their opponent, they win the match. So if you have 7 or more points,
it's like a mercy rule.
Last leader wins at the end of any of the second player's turns. A player with the last leader model in place. If you kill the enemy caster at the end of every round, if you've lost your caster, but then if the first player loses their caster, or the second player loses their caster, they then get a turn to kill the first player's caster before the game ends, which is interesting.
That's fun.
And then victory point win if neither player has a leader in play at the end. So if both leaders die At the end of any of the second player's turn, the player with the most victory points wins the match. So if both casters get assassinated, then the person with the most VPs wins. So there is some value to get the 3 VPs from knocking him down.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds really fun. I'm totally interested in playing it. It might be fun to do a game day where we like people play these random missions. Like, I don't know, maybe you even do teams. Like you split players into 2 teams and we try to play like 10 of the missions in the Battleforge and
we should
see what happens.
We should go through and look at them, and because there are a bunch of the early Battleforge missions in the scenario box that we have. A bunch of them in there because whenever I run a league, I try and throw them in as stuff that people can do early on. Because Steamroller missions tend to play better at like 75 or 100 points, so it's something you can play at 30 or 50 if you don't want to play that one mission over and over. But
me, yeah.
But I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that mission's very cool. The thing about Battleforge missions is sometimes they're not balanced, and so sometimes you're playing at a disadvantage. Or I mean, heck, there's a Battleforge missions that adds teleporters to the game. One of the recent Battleforge missions has like portals that port models around the table in it.
Yeah.
So there's.
I mean, that's all about like people's mentalities, right? And like what they like and what they think is interesting, Yep. So probably not a competitive kind of event, but maybe one that's fun.
I play. The other thing about Battleforge missions is they tend not to be 100 point games. They tend to be 50 or 75 point games, maybe even 30 point games.
Yeah, I really like those lower point levels. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if I'm alone in that in the community. So, or in the minority, perhaps. Alone.
I think you're in the. So I definitely think that our community is sort of split, and we have some people that like small point games. We have some people that like non-competitive games, and we have some people that like competitive games. And none of the 3 really sort of match up. And there's a couple of us that are like the small point games and will play competitive games, or like the non-narrative games that want to play large point non-narrative game, like play narrative games. I don't know. I think that there's potential for a lot of different play styles within our community, and hopefully a lot of people's communities, because that's what keeps communities going, is a variety.
Yeah, having things for people to do, and that cater to different interests, like skill levels and stuff. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So we had talked about wanting to discuss Shadow and Scum. Is that something you still want to do tonight?
Yeah, I definitely want to discuss Scum.
Okay.
We can try to work through Shadow if you think we can figure it out. Yeah.
So Shadows is the one I'm actually more interested in. So that's the one I've been looking at. So. Right.
Well, then one at a time, I suppose. Yeah.
All right. So what would you like to start with? Is there a Scum model or unit that you're really excited by?
Yeah. Well, let me give you my overall impression of the Scum side.
Sure.
So I think the concepts, like the models themselves, are like A+. I think they're really good.
Yep. Like the physical models, or the
physical models, and like the in the way that the minis are designed. I think the theming is really good and really strong and like really exciting.
Okay.
I love the like kind of colonial soldier sort of thing, or British soldier kind of red coat sort of thing they got going on. I think that's great. I think Foulblood's like all the bottles that he's carrying around are sweet.
Yep.
Chum is a really, really good looking model, even if you don't like the eel like me.
Yep.
Like the rest of him is really good. And I think Sully's cool, and Mr. Boggs is also really interesting. So love the models.
I agree. And those models are really cool. I like that they left them just agnostic enough that, yes, they're sort of designed to be British redcoats and British sailors and stuff like that, but they could be Union soldiers if you wanted to do that, or they could just be generic sailor costumes. They're probably not pirates, so you most of them you probably don't want to paint like striped pants and sort of sailory, piratey kind of aspects. They look like they're more of a like the official Royal Navy kind of costumes instead of the pirate sort of costumes, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's like great for a cadre, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
the cadres are all designed to stick out and be a little bit different.
It helps them stand
like,
out from the rest of the look of the army. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think the models are A plus, and I really like them. I mean, I wish they don't match my tiki like island like frog theme very well, but that's a me problem. That has nothing to do with.
I think Chum could
SFG.
I think you could paint Chum in such a way that he would match, because he's not really a troll. He's a shark with arms and legs.
Mm-hmm.
He's a street shark.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do a lot of cool things with him, I think. And I kind of want to. I mean, this like maybe is more a reflection of my stage of life, but I want to paint him like gosh, there's a children's book called like The Mirror Fish or The Beautiful Fish or something like that. And I want to paint him like that. But yeah, I think he's really an exciting model to paint.
Right. So I think he could fit into your tiki army pretty easily. But the rest, and for me, I think that the eel that's in his hand, I agree, it's really weird. I also don't like that in most of the official paint jobs and paint jobs I've seen, they paint it the same as him. For me, I'd paint it like bright red, or like do your fire scheme that you've been doing on your frogs and do it as like a firefish or something like that.
I'll have to look at it. I'll probably end up cutting it off and putting something else there.
I get that. Make sure that it's in the same realm of stuff, because a lot of the WYSIWYG rule is that something of the same thing is there. So like if a model has a sword, it needs to have a sword. It can't have an axe, for example.
I think there's less confusion about that. I think the intent behind that rule is about like clarity, right? And so I think for some model like Chum, there's like not any confusion about.
Just don't leave like an open model hand. It is. He needs to have something there that.
Oh no, I'll put something dope there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I mean, I don't mind a conversion opportunity, and I love the chains on him. I love the mouth; looks really fun to paint. So, A plus on the models. You wanna talk models for Shadow and Scum, or for Shadow?
So for Shadow and for the Shadow half of the box, for the most part, I agree completely with you. I think that the models look great. The Shadows unit is cool and dynamically posed. The solos are both really interesting and are variable. One is tall and thin with a staff, and the other one is sort of down on the ground and aggressive. And then the caster is like big and hulking and looks different enough from the rest of it. The beast that I like the way the beast looks overall, but the beast, the problem is that the actual model, and not a lot of people, I guess, or the people that have been painting it so far are super experienced, but there's a seam that goes down the center of the model, and and it doesn't mesh very well. And so unless you have some experience in like filling seams or using liquid cement or sprue glue to fill the seam and sort of blend it, it leaves a seam like the older GW models used to have, where like the two halves would go together on the body and there'd be a seam.
Yeah.
Or like the Toro.
That's such a pain.
I don't know if you remember the Toro plastic kit, how there sort of was a seam on the top, like the two halves of its upper armor met, and there was like a seam unless you could fill it. It leaves a seam line that's very ugly. The model itself is
it's a fixable problem, but it's like really outside of what the War Machine community is used to dealing with. I think
it would have been really easy to like create an overlap or like a texture, because I mean it's Chimera, so they have mechanical parts, and if there'd been an armor seam line where the one part went over the other to cover it, it would have been perfectly fine.
It would have really helped.
And all they needed was like an extra 2 millimeters of plastic and a little bump to sort of hide that line, and it didn't do that, and it missed it. But I think they've learned from that, and they'll do that. They'll improve on that in the future.
I've seen some really cool paint schemes on the Shadow side.
Yeah.
Chimera is always like tough for me to even like see what the models are, but I think people are doing some really. It seems like models let you do kind of artistic, kind of abstract kinds of things with them, which is interesting.
So I either think that you either use a lot of colors that are like triad colors to and sort of create similar but difference that allows you to sort of pick out the different elements, and you pick like two elements are this color, two elements are this color, and then the cloth is this color. Or
Mm.
and then like maybe I use a little bit of metal, maybe I don't. And a lot of the so I've been grabbing Chimera pictures recently because I'm getting ready to paint the shadows half of the box. And I really there's some really cool schemes out there that use triad colors very effectively to make the model pop.
Okay.
But at the same time, I also really like the abstract ones because there's like a guy that was been painting. They basically paint the wings and ignore all the details and paint like a rainbow wing, and then they basically paint big rainbow sections and then edge the detail in an edge bit, which I think is also really cool.
I think so, and it looks really good. I've never painted anything like that, but it appeals to me as like a new thing to learn that's like really valuable, and it's kind of what I want to do with my Abyssal Kings. So I so kudos. I think the model design is like really pretty quite good for this. Yeah.
I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunity with these models. And I think it's interesting that people are sort of trying these different things on this kit, and then they're starting to apply them to other things. So like there's a Wyvern out there that has that sort of same rainbow design, and then edge painting that looks really amazing. And there's some people that are starting to apply it to other Chimera models, which I think is really cool.
Nice.
I'm definitely interested to see what people start doing with Brine Bloods, based upon the couple of variations of the Brine Blood half that I've seen.
Yeah, I don't know what people will do. I mean, Chum has a lot of opportunities for painting interestingly.
Yeah.
I think, the other ones are a little bit more directional in terms of like what they want to be, but I think you have some opportunities to paint the cloaks differently and that kind of thing. Like they've got a lot of fun details. So the bottles on Foul Blood will be really interesting.
So the interesting thing about the two halves of the box is the Chimera half. You really sort of want to pick one style and paint the whole box like that one style. And there are aspects of each model that make them stand out. So like the weapons or the pose or the big rock they're standing on, or some models are thinner and more lithe and some models are bigger and hulkier. And so there's the variances in the models and not necessarily how you approach painting them, or the thing that makes that model unique within it. So the weapon they're holding or the size of their body, where the Scum half of the box, every model is sort of individual, or unit is individual. So each one has its own aesthetics, its own look, its own style, its own piece. And you're sort of like painting individual little things that if you make the bases the same, or you use the base color of the uniform as the same to make them sort of tie into each other. But each piece is sort of like its own unique element. And
I see what you're saying, and that's kind of like the whole Brine Bloods vibe too, right? Like every model can be has lots of unique bits and bobs, and they don't necessarily fit together. And like, I mean, they're like the opposite of like Space Marines, right? When you think of Space Marines, you're like, these things all look the same, and like Brine Bloods are not that way. Everything looks a little bit, everything's different, everything's got its own character. Part of why they're fun to paint.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of the interesting aspects about them. It lets you paint bright and shiny and get away with it.
Yep, and it can be absolutely infuriating because like everything is different, and you just never get there's never an easy pass, right? Yep. But I mean, it's good things and bad, right?
Yeah. All right, so what do you like model rules wise about the models that are in Scum? Is there any models that really excite you?
Yeah, I mean, they're so unique, it's hard not to talk one by one. And I think I got some takes.
Okay.
I don't, and I know you said, what do you like?
Yeah.
I'm going to be like a little bit critical, and I think it's just like the nature of getting new models. You always see like what they don't do.
Yeah.
Right?
Do it. Yeah.
So I will say that I think I'm less excited about Chum's rules than most of the Brine Bloods community.
Wow.
And I might totally be wrong. I might just be dead wrong on this.
Interesting.
So let me describe what Chum does. So he's a 16-point war beast, so he's on the expensive side, but not crazy expensive. He is so he's speed 5 with a 2-inch reach weapon, so he threats 10. He has a bunch of really good rules for his survivability. So he's armor 19.
Yep.
He has his animus is excessive healing. This is Molg's old animus.
Yep.
It gives him rapid healing for 1 round. So every time you damage him, he heals D3 damage.
Yeah, and then he has hyper regeneration on top of that, so he heals D3 at the beginning of his activation as well.
At the beginning of his activations, and so like the excessive healing is in a lot like having +2 arm. In many situations, it's better. In some situations, it's worse.
Yep.
But I mean, like, it means this guy. I think it's fair to say he's like an 11/21 a lot of the time, and that's like really beefy. And hyper regeneration is awesome because it means that if one of his aspects is out, when you activate him, he heals, he's ready to go. And if 2 are out, like a lot of the times, he'll heal 2 and he'll be ready to go. Yep. So that, like, it's a really welcome, really good quality of life change. A really good quality of life thing. So his survivability is really pretty good. So that's an exciting piece of him. One cool thing about excessive healing is that like Blessed doesn't get around it. Right. So they can't Blessing of the Gods to like make you easier to kill. So I think that's pretty sweet. He has 3 melee weapons. Yep. He's Mat 8. And they all are really cool. So a really exciting one is his Great Maw. I think that's his mouth, actually.
Yes.
Do you agree? Yep.
Yep. It has crit consume, so yeah.
It has crit oh, okay, yeah. It's got to be his mouth. Yeah. So it has crit consume, which is sweet. It has grievous wounds. So this is like one of the only ways to get grievous wounds in the faction. The other way is like the surgeon.
He's got a POW 16 grievous wounds. I mean, that's crazy.
It's awesome, right? And it's gonna tear through medium-based models.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, I think Hazaroth was like a little bit of a boogeyman for Brines, and this guy just says, "No, I eat all of those." And so that's really sick. His big weapon is his Mind Flail. This is his 2-inch one. It's POW 18, which is like a really nice POW. And it has the ability Warhead, which is new.
No, it's old.
Oh, is it old? Is it? Oh, it's got to be on some Winter Core thing, isn't it?
It's on a old Iron Fang Pikeman character solo. It's on the cavalry solo for the Iron Fang Pikeman for the Ulans. And so the idea of it is when this model directly hits an extra large or smaller base model with an attack with this weapon, enemy models within it. So it used to place a 4-inch blast. And so everything in the blast takes a POW 10. So back in the day, you used to cavalry charge into stuff with this guy. He's the cavalry solo that had Tactician for Iron
Drago or
no, I forget his name. It's not important, but it's an old ability that's been on
the Dracoon.
No, it's not on the Dracoon. It's there's a character cavalry solo for Khador.
Okay.
He's an Iron Fang Pikeman. He's an Ulan. And he gave the army. He was the model that used to give the army Tactician. Back in the day before they added it to the character Manowar unit. But its ability that's been on like 2 models previously in the history of War Machine.
Wow. Okay.
But now it's on it's on a beast that can attack with it multiple times.
I mean, it's sweet. This guy's just going to beat at things with his warhead, and he's going to blow up everything near that, which is really cool.
It's on a 2-inch reach POW 18 chain weapon as well. And so you're like ignoring the shields, you're ignoring with the attack, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a really cool part of him. It's really cool flavor. It's like a new utility. I mean,
So
A plus design. Really, really all about it.
So the only issue, so I wish it was a blast weapon. I understand that it's not a blast weapon, so it ignores the things that have. I mean, it is a blast, but it doesn't ignore the things that have blast resistance. Blast resistance will still have one less die, but it hits everything within 2, which sort of seems to be the in vogue stuff. So there's a couple of things in Crix that do this, and now they're sort of adding it to other armies, and so it's everything in the blast within 2 inches. It's not just like the two closest models within 2 inches.
I think it's like almost a redefinition of how AoEs work, right?
Right.
Like,
right. There's the Crix, the spray unit, the Biothrall medium base unit has this. When they die, they hit everything within 2, and then one of their lights has the same rule that when it dies, it blasts and hits everything within 2. But I'm not sure I like that going that way. Like, I wish they had kept it, like, if it was going to be a blast, it should work like a blast. But otherwise, I think it's a really cool rule to have to give to a model that's going to use it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's super sweet. And then his last weapon is a Deep Viper. That's the little fishy that he's holding that everyone's going to paint like Finding Nemo or whatever.
Right.
And it gives him another POW 16 weapon. Then it has Man Catcher, which is an old rule that I remember from the Paingiver Taskmaster. It says a warrior model hit with it suffers -2 defense and cannot advance while it's within your melee range.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I think this mostly matters if, like, you get to their Warcaster and give it -2 defense. So,
I mean, maybe.
Probably not a rule that comes up a ton, but you're happy to have it, right? I don't know if Kruger happens to wander by, you can man catch him and then beat him with your Great Maw and your flail.
So other things he has snacking so he can heal himself. He has foul stench, so living models within 5 have -1 fury and threshold, so enemy living war beasts. And he has stumbling drunk, which I think is a super important part of him.
Yeah, and that's like the bit I've been saving for last, and this is the bit that I'm like a little bit unsure of.
Okay.
So, stumbling drunk is you can't be knocked down.
Right.
Very nice. If you're hit by an attack at any time except while it's advancing, which I assume is basically at any time, the model with stumbling drunk is pushed D3 inches directly away from the attacking model.
Yep.
So, the best case scenario for this is a thing where you put Chum out there and they charge it with a heavy, and they hit you and Chum wanders 3 inches away and they're shit out of luck, right? Like, that's what makes this really scary and really good potentially. But it's also like a liability. So if you're in a scenario zone, like, they can shoot you with 2 POW 10s and hit you twice and push you 2d3 inches away. Let you like self thunderbolt yourself. Like,
I mean,
it's kind of an issue.
So the counter to that is that I basically then, so if I want to charge my heavy jack into you to do some damage, what I have to do is I have to then run a unit behind it first so that it can't push through them, and then charge in. Where at the same time, you just have to put a unit or a solo or piece of terrain behind him, and he's not going to move. If you need to have him in.
Yeah, and like Mark III units kind of do this naturally, right? If they charge you, they put 2, one on either side and pin you in, so you don't stumble. Yeah.
The thing that's important for me is that he's never knocked down if there were for any reason that he could be knocked down.
Yeah, I mean that part's really nice.
Yeah.
And so like the stumbling drunk thing is cool, but I think it's going to offer your opponent advantages to play around him in ways that I think you won't like. And at the same time is going to cause you a lot of issues in terms of managing it with like not a lot of upside. So I don't know, that's the bit of this that I'm like a little bit meh on. So you can bring Fortify off the rack, which is an armor buff. And if you put that on him, he cannot stumbling drunk. He can't be pushed.
Yeah.
which is a way to manage having this rule. Like,
yeah.
You're also saying that you don't get a benefit from it, so it's like, pluses and minuses.
So here's my question. So I have a question and then a point about Chum. So my first question is he now your auto include instead of your first Deepborn Dire Troll, or are you still taking a Deepborn Dire Troll over him first?
So he's not in either of my lists.
You're still likely you're still likely going to put Fortify or some sort of armor buff on the Deepborn Dire Troll instead. Normally, right? Because you're buffing it up, and so it would just go on Chum instead if you were going to take Chum instead.
Yeah, and I think one way to think about Chum is that Chum is greedy.
Yeah.
Like, he wants that buff, and he also doesn't bring an Animus to help your army out.
Mm-hmm.
He also doesn't bring a ranged attack, which all the other heavies do.
Well, he doesn't help the Animus doesn't help your army, but it does help your Warcaster. Or your Warlock.
I guess. I mean, it's not terrible.
Ragemonger loves having that Animus.
Yeah, and I think Ragemonger loves Chum in general, right? He improves his survivability. Yep. I think that Shadow Tongue probably really likes him because he has Perdition and can deliver him.
Yep.
I don't know if Thorga actually plays Chum because Chum doesn't benefit from her feat at all. Maybe Chum is so good that doesn't matter. But something to think about.
Yep.
So I'm definitely not saying he's bad. I'm just not sure he's auto include. He's not like a Vrager provides a lot of support for your army as well as being like kind of an adequate heavy.
I think you're targeting him at the wrong thing. So for me, I'm right now. So I've played Winter Corp. I was a very infantry heavy Winter Corp player. I'm now playing Orgoth, which is a very for the most part, usually a very infantry heavy army as well. This model scares the crap out of me because it has 2 POW 16s and a POW 18. The POW 18 hits every time he hits a single model, he hits multiple models with it. This guy is designed to eat medium and large base multi-wound infantry.
You're totally right, and that's a real niche. And that's a real part of the meta.
He snacks them so they're removed from play so they can't be recurred. And then heals himself. I mean, he has grievous wounds on one of his attacks, so he's getting through the tough. He's chomping on and eating medium and large base multi-wound units, which is, I think, one of the banes of the game right now. Yes, the game.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're in like the top of the meta for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. The meta is starting to swing back towards battle group heavy armies and armies that can play battle group and infantry, but there's more and more things out there that are making single wound infantry models less attractive. And so multi-wound models are like the thing to do. And this guy just munches through them like they don't exist.
Yeah, and if you don't finish him,
right,
he will heal a bunch.
And then
continue to be a problem.
And heal a bunch more and murder a bunch and heal a bunch more. And you hit him and then he's healing back. And so you have to hit him hard with high-powered attacks to actually kill him. And if you don't, then he's just going to persist and keep killing your stuff that's giving you board control and keeping you in the game.
Yeah. So definitely not saying he's not bad.
I agree.
And definitely not saying that he won't see play in a lot of lists. Just have a couple qualifiers. Can I say something disgusting before we talk about a Scum model?
Sure.
A Shadows model.
Sure, absolutely.
I think this guy should lose a couple rules and gain hyper aggressive in addition to stumbling drunk. Because just imagine how gross that would be.
Oh yeah.
Every time you hit him, he has to wander away, but then I get to choose if he also wanders forward. And like, it would be so sharky, right? He's like this drunk shark that's wandering away from you and then running back at you, and like, it would make him hell to handle on the table. Anyhow, so tell me about a Shadows model.
I don't know how you... Yeah. So for me personally, the fact that he'd always be able to advance after being pushed away seems counterintuitive. I think that he should have a rule that gives him, like, give him steady. Just give him steady. And then have him, every time he takes damage, either stumble away or get hyper-aggressives. Get one or the other.
One or the other? Yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't know. I mean, it's a little random, but yeah. I agree. I think that he's got a lot of rules, and if they simplified him just a little bit, made him a point or two cheaper. I know he's part of a cadre, so it's tough to do that. I think he'd be a better model overall.
I mean, he brings a lot to the table, and like you're gonna see him in a lot of lists, and he'll have earned a place there. So.
And it's a sweet model, so people are going to be wanting to paint him.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's a very, very good release.
Yeah, for me. So the thing about the shadows. So Chimera has been for a long time has been in sort of a bad place. They were a little bit sort of list locked, and they had to take the Wyvern, and they had to take some specific models to be even slightly competitive, because certain rules only applied on certain things. And in January, with the rules update, they sort of they moved around a bunch of places where some of those rules were, and so they've opened back up the playability and the variety of list creation that you can do with Chimera. I think that the Shadows box is sort of like Chimera has sort of been on the lower end of the Mark IV competitive armies. So let's give them a kick in the ass and make them good. And
yeah, there's some power in here. I definitely agree with that.
It's just as crazy power. And it almost feels like the Moraine box for Dusk. So Dusk was good already.
Oh, but then there was a lot of power in that.
The Moraine box, just up the level. They nerfed them a little bit, and then they gave them the Moraine box, and they just up the power level like crazy. And Chimera was low. They balanced them a little bit. They still were not in the best place. And now this box is just going to make them like a top tier army. It feels like that between this and Lilith, they're just like, let's see what Chimera can do if they give them broken shit.
And Colossals, right? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
We don't even need to go there tonight.
Yeah, not tonight, no. All right. So the model that I think sort of sums up the craziness of this box has got to be Valix, which is their Warlock.
The Warcaster. Okay.
Yeah, the Warcaster. Yeah. He's the model that Warlock. I think is really going to... I mean, everything in the box has some level of power. But this model, I think, is the really big piece that's really going to change how the army feels and plays.
He turns a lot of it on, or she.
I don't know.
I
don't know.
The Fate Eclipse. I don't know.
It's probably a guy. I'm not 100% sure, but Felix. So, first off, it is steady, and it has an elite cadre for its cadre models, which a lot of the cadre seem to have. They have a rule that only affects or only applies to models within the cadre.
I like that. I think it's a nice touch.
Yep. Yep. So its elite cadre is Shard Nocturnes, which is the cadre name. So friendly Shard Nocturnes models gain flying high. Ranged attacks targeting a model with flying high has -3 range. So the whole cadre has wings, and so everybody in the cadre, while with Valix, including Valix, has -3 range to shoot at them or cast a spell at them, which I think is pretty strong.
So it's quite good, and it's extra good because it doesn't share a keyword with the Wraithwing Paragon,
right?
Which gives warping wins. So you can set the whole cadre up in a non 30-point game to be -6 range.
Yep.
Which I think it's good.
Pretty good.
It's hard to argue with that. Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Those range 4 gun mages really hurt, Yep.
He is also, most of the cadre is also speed 7. He's one of the few models that isn't. He's speed 6. He's got good mat, rat, and ATT. He's high defense and high armor, which is weird. He's a 15-17.
That's a really good stat
models
line.
are either like a 13 or a 14 and then have like an 18 armor, or like our 15-15s or 15-16s.
Usually they total 30 or 31.
Right.
He totals 32.
which
is good.
Which is really strong. He does only have 6 arc, so he's a little low on the arc scale. I mean, I think he's probably average. I think most of the Mark IV casters are mostly 6s.
Yeah, he's not casting offensive spells at the same level, for sure.
Right, and his control's 12s, which is fine. He does have dual attack and both 2 melee and 2 ranged attacks, which is really strong. So he has 4 attacks out the gate. His ranged attacks don't have pistol. I think he's one of the few casters that don't. But it probably makes sense they don't because they have drag. So if he hits a model with his range 6 range attack, he can pull a model into melee with him that's equal or larger base. And he is a 40 millimeter base. So he can pull most enemy casters that he hits with the range attack.
Yeah, it feels like he's really trying to bring your caster in.
Right. Right, and he's a rat 7, so he's no sneeze there. He's got his melee attacks are PAL 12s. They have crit brutal, so on a critical hit they gain an additional die. And he can combo strike. So while it's 1 PAL 12, you can do 2 PAL 12s or 1 PAL 16 and then buy 12s. So it's interesting because I don't really feel like he wants to bring models to him, but then he wants to let other stuff kill it. It's sort of what it feels like to me. What about?
Yeah, I think I agree. Like his personal output is not that exciting.
Right.
You haven't covered his feat, but it gets more exciting on the feat turn.
It does.
But even then, I think he's like trying. It's more about the drags than it is about him. Like, he's not killing heavies.
So
I think most of the time.
We should mention his feat before we get much farther into it. His feat is sort of the thing that makes your eyes bug out and go like, why can't I have him in Winter Corp, or why can't I have him in XY?
It's such a cool idea.
Yeah. So it's called Blood Moon. So when a friendly faction model directly hits a model in Valix's control range with an attack, resolve the attack as if it was a critical hit. Blood Moon lasts for 1 round. So what's that mean is, for example, if he hits a model with his PAL 12 melee attack, he has crit brutal, which gives an extra die of damage. It means that every attack counts as a critical automatically, even if you don't roll doubles. Or every friendly faction model in his control range for 1 round. So
really cool idea.
So
like a plus interesting design space.
Right. Yeah. Crit brutal on him. There's Chimera models that have crit armor pierce. There's Chimera models that have crit poison.
There's critical freeze. There's critical blind.
Right. There's so many options and so much variety. You can build lists that are designed to like, all right, so I'm gonna do some craziness, pop his feet, hit a bunch of stuff, and then when you attack me, I'll hit you back, and my hit, if I hit you, is automatically critical, and you're automatically knocked down, you're automatically blind, you're automatically lose X ability. It's so much counter there. You can build like offensive hunty armies where you have just take a bunch of critical armor pierce and stuff that debuffs defense. It opens up a lot of variety in your playstyle, which I think is really cool and really powerful for an army based around this guy.
Yeah, I think it gives you a pretty strong design direction. It lets you do a lot of interesting things, but it has some like drawbacks. So I'm here for it. I think it's great. I love seeing this.
So the other thing that's interesting about him is that we sort of mentioned that he's sort of about pulling stuff into him, and then so both of his rack spells are getaway spells. Effectively, one is vanish, so it's the same thing that Harusk has. So he can either use it to teleport 3 inches and then charge, or move in, get closer. But he can also use it at the end of his turn to teleport out. You can use it once. Place the spellcaster anywhere complete with 3 of its current location. Vanish can be cast once per activation. So you can either use it at the beginning or at the end of the turn. You can use it to. You can walk up, pull somebody in, teleport 3 inches out, and attack something else. But then his other spell, which is an upkeep spell, I think I'm not familiar with it anywhere
I did not realize that. I think it's new.
Upkeep. I believe it's new. It's called Marathon. So while in the spellcaster's control range, models in this battle group gain sprint. So if you kill a model during that model's activation at the end of its turn, it can move at speed directly away. So with Marathon up and vanish, he can end up 9 inches from where he started. Either he can teleport 3 inches in, charge in, and then sprint out, or he could walk in, harpoon somebody in, pop his feet, make a bunch of attacks, do a bunch of damage, vanish out, and then, as long as he killed a model, then move 6 inches on top of that, be 9 inches from the model that he pulled in during his turn. I think
this is like my favorite kind of Warcaster to play.
He is
like on the feet turn, at least, doing a bunch of work, moving a bunch, non-linear movements, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's he's a very dramatic and he's a counterplay caster, so he's doing something and then getting out and then letting the rest of your army. As we talk about the rest of the box, there's a lot more stuff that plays into this sort of like movement outside of their activation or during their or at the end of their activation to affect placement of your models. And it's a very cool dynamic that wasn't in. I mean, they had Shurus who could move 7, leap 5, and then throw stuff like 12 inches and have a 20-inch threat with her gun. But you weren't assassinating something with that unless they had really low armor. You were hurting things.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of what I saw from Chimera was just like heavy cav units and far charging wyverns, and this is like very a really interesting ninja-y play style for them. Very excited for it. Very
cool. All right.
I will give slight props to the fact that, now if you don't have Nightmare Fuel yet, now there's a Wyvern and it can charge and kill your stuff and auto crit knockdown it and then sprint away 7 inches. So,
exactly.
So we all have that to look forward to. Yep.
Okay.
I just it's gonna be cool. I love playing this kind of army. I don't know. These mechanics are the ones that I love the most. So excited to see them in the game. Yeah.
So what is the next? Is there another thing within the Scum half that you really want to talk about?
I'll talk about the other model. I'll talk about them. I'll talk about Foulblood. I'm going to spend less time just because we're going long,
I think so.
and I don't want to. Foulblood is cool. He's the Warcaster.
Yep.
He is, I don't think there's anything particularly noticeable about his stat line. It's fairly standard. His feat gives your warrior models with Stumbling Drunk +3 arm. Well, I started at the wrong spot. Let's see. He has battle plans, which we always like to see, because on a Warcaster, he can give grievous wounds to a warrior model unit. So that's really powerful. That's a unique thing in the faction. If grievous wounds becomes important, he is the person who provides it.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. He has a battle plan called Open Bar, which gives friendly living faction models within 10 inches of him Stumbling Drunk, if they're large or smaller based.
It makes his feet apply to stuff outside of the one Marauder unit.
The one unit that naturally has Stumbling Drunk.
And stuff within the cadre. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd also say it's, in the faction, it's the only source of can't be knocked down.
Yep.
So trolls have all this stuff, but almost no way to prevent knockdown. So that's unique. And that's a valuable thing. And then walk it off as the other one, and he can actually stand a unit up.
Yep.
Which is again really useful in a faction full of tough models. So
and it gets around stationary as well, which is pretty good.
Yeah, which is sweet. So all 3 battle plans are unique in the faction and present new opportunities and new things to consider. So I really like that part of him.
It's actually almost like the put out the fires command cards, because it gets rid of target friendly faction warrior model unit. It gets rid of continuous effects, knockdown, and stationary.
Yeah, and trolls are always bringing that damn card, because we always have a model or two that's knocked down and that's in the right place, and we just need them to stand up, so hard to take advantage of tough without that kind of card,
the other thing that's interesting about his battle plan, so usually battle plans affect things like within 3 to 5 inches, and the dirty fighting one is within 5 inches, but the other 2 abilities, one of them is everything within a 10-inch bubble of him, and the walk it off is a range 10 ability. So the fact that he has a battle plan that can affect something 10 inches away that's basically a command card is pretty strong.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I mean, I think that's the most interesting part of him. His feat is cool. It gives friendly warrior models with Stumbling Drunk +3 arm.
Oof.
So that's going to move your Marauder units from... Marauder units with the Tapper, or Marauder units, and note there's no range on it,
it's
right?
Crazy.
So it's the whole table, but most of your models are going to need, his battle plan to get Stumbling Drunk, but it's potentially, models that exist anywhere.
Right.
Yep. Models that have Stumbling Drunk innately include Marauders with the Tapper. So those go up to 12 16s, which is I think a pretty respectable stat line.
Yep.
They're not going to die to random things. Of course, they'll still die to high POW attacks, but I think you're pretty happy with that. And also your favorite model, the Fugue Walker, can get Stumbling Drunk. So that's kind of cool. You can have armed 20 Fugue Walkers anywhere on the table. I think that's actually probably pretty good. I would build that in my list.
I think it's actually Richard's favorite model. He has just used it to great effect on me, and so I'm scared of it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, not you've overcome Vrogger fear, but
I have not it yet.
Yeah. The other cool part of this feat is when a model is pushed as a result of Stumbling Drunk, you choose the direction. And that is going to cause major headaches for your opponent.
Yeah.
You can wander into melee with things. You can wander out of melee with things. You can wander into scenario zones.
Yep.
You can engage things. You can wander into cover in some cases, or out of cover.
Yep.
I think all of these things are really fun for him. I don't know if they'll see competitive play. If I continue playing Trolls, I'll try him out at some point, just because I love the guy that nobody else is playing, and there's definitely things here that are good. His spell slots are boring. He has Blur, so he can protect a unit, and he has Fortify, which is a rack spell, so nothing to see here. All right, I'm gonna end my review of him, so whatever you want to talk about next.
All right. I think that for the most part, the other two pieces of the shadow box that really needs to be there's a solo that is a Warcaster attachment that's an Arc node, which is really cool, and can upkeep a spell for free, which is awesome.
Yep. You're happy to have that. You'll play that for sure.
I'm happy to have it. The Jack is sort of like a tool. It's different. The Beast, it's different. It's not like a hard hitting, disgusting, nasty. I mean, it has crit poison on a POW 13 chain weapon, so it's not that crazy as crit blind. It has crit blind on its weapons, but it basically has a toolbox of options that let it sort of play into a variety of situations. I think that it's Animus is a cloud, so it lets you, if you're having trouble with specific things, it can be a cheaper character beast that you can add to an army that gives you some flexibility into lists that you might have a hard time into. But it's not like oh my god, this model is the best thing ever. It's Trump and it's going to destroy the world. It's not that thing.
I think the thing it brings is it can make a cloud, and your Warcaster can make a cloud, maybe two clouds, but almost all of the Warcasters are one. So, but it brings some cloud wall to a list, which is really exciting. Where this thing is going to be really cool is I think you're going to play it with Nixian a lot.
Yeah.
Who has Arcane 8. And then you're placing 2 from her, 1 from this, and you have a 9-inch cloud wall, and that's a thing that you don't see that much of in Mark 4 and is good with all the terrain. So I'm excited for this thing, but it has a particular niche.
It has an arm debuff. It has decrepidation on one of its low power weapons, so it can be used to hurt undead models and constructs. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not like the stellar piece. It's sort of like a support piece that has a lot of little options. I think go ahead.
I like that design because I think they've done something interesting here without just making a ball busting heavy. So good on SFG.
I think the other the two pieces of the puzzle with the caster for the shadow half that are really important to talk about are Regulus, which is the solo, and then the shades, which is the unit. And so I'm gonna start with Regulus. So Regulus is, and he's actually not even that like crazy. I mean, he's a speed 7, defense 15 with annoyance and a critical weaken PAL 12 weapon master attack. So critical weaken is on a critical hit, a living model suffers -2 defense and -2 to melee attack damage rolls for 1 round. So combine that with Valex's feat, and he's basically passing out -2 defense and -2 to damage rolls.
It's gonna be good
to enemy models on top of being a PAL 12 weapon master. That's pretty great. He's a defense 15 that living enemy models, he's effectively a 16 if they don't have 2-inch reach, because within an inch of him, they have -1 to attack.
And in the cadre, he has flying high, so he resists the blast damage. Really nice.
Exactly. The weird thing about, he's steady, so he can't be knocked down. He has reposition 3, so he's a 4-point good power like ability model. But on top of that, he has 2 things that are sort of weird. So he has the Caltrops ability that was on the character Gatorman solo. The Gatorman sniper rifle guy. So once per turn, and he can do this anytime during his activation. So it's not an action. He can place a 3-inch diameter template completely within 4 of the model. Template remains in play for 1 round. Living and undead models without flight that enter or are placed or end their activation in the template suffer a POW 10 damage roll. So he basically just creates a POW 10 template, effectively, that he can put around objectives or around flags, or he can put it between terrain to discourage warrior models to walk through. That anything except for constructs just takes a POW 10 damage roll as soon as they enter, are placed on it, or end their activation in it. And he just does it every turn, which is, it's not crazy powerful, but it's not exactly weak either.
It seems useful. Like it'll depend on the matchups, right? But there will be times when it is unsufferable, right? And you could like combine it with spike traps to be a total, to totally deny a whole area of the board.
Absolutely.
I think it's really interesting.
It's a pretty interesting role. But the other thing that's weird about him is he has an action called espionage. And so I think that this is something that's not going to come into play a ton unless you're specifically trying to do this. But so what it is it's range 8. You have to target an enemy leader model. So you have to target their Warcaster or Warlock or Inferno Master. If an enemy leader is in range, you don't even have to roll to hit it. It's just if the enemy leader is within 8 inches of him. For one, you can pick a friendly model within 8 inches of this model to immediately advance 3 inches. So you can pick get a beast closer, so it has plus 3 inches of charge range into an enemy caster, or into another model close to the caster. You can pick the one model of the unit, so the unit can go in and try and do craziness, which we'll talk about with the shades in a second. I think it's a very
really powerful if it goes off.
It's a very powerful ability that is very situational.
Okay,
is the best way to sort of.
I mean, you will spend your whole game avoiding this with your Warcaster. Exactly. You never want to end your activation within 15 inches of this guy. This rule's been around before. It was a rule in Mark II when I played. I remember. I can't remember who it was on. Some mercenary.
Madame Corbeau or Madame
Corbeau? Is it okay?
One of the mercenaries. Lael solos.
It was a female mercenary solo for sure. Was it Terran? Maybe, I don't know.
I thought it was on. I thought it was on the chick who's now the spy master of Ord.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think that was Corbeau though. Corbeau was like the madam. But
yeah, I don't know.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
It's a great ability. I'm really curious if people will bring this model in lists. But if your opponent has it, you need to know about it, because otherwise you're in for a real bad time.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It absolutely sets up assassination runs. It sets up attack runs. It could set up your cast, like it could set up Valix to be able to pull a caster in and then zip away so the rest of the unit could attack so other models could get in and assassinate the enemy caster. I mean, there's a lot of things that it could do, which is very crazy.
It was on Anastasia Debray.
Yes.
That's who it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But excited to see that back in the game and people doing stuff with this. It's going to be good.
And the other interesting thing about him is he has ambush. He doesn't have advanced deploy.
Always useful.
He does have ambush, though.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Very, very, very crazy. He has stealth. He has flight. Yeah. He's a very interesting model. All right. So is there something else is there one more thing in the Shadow and Scum box that's really interesting to you?
I'll do them all very quickly. How about that?
So I'll mention the thing that I'm most interested in about the Shadow and Scum box when you get to him. But go ahead.
Okay, so Mr. Boggs is hilarious.
Yes.
He has a new rule called he's a little tiny pig with an enormous rifle, and he has a new rule called overwhelming recoil.
Yep.
When he shoots his gun at you, it's a Rat 7 Spray 10 POW 13. It has Thunderbolt, so it pushes you D3 inches away, and it has overwhelming recoil, so it pushes Mr. Boggs D3 plus 1 inches away in the opposite direction.
And it's a Spray 12. It's a Spray 10 gun.
10. So you end up 11 plus 2d3 inches away from each other, and it's hilarious. And I think it might actually be good.
And he has clear, so it ignores friendly models. Yeah,
I think this dude is the sleeper model of the cadre, and at some point someone will unlock him and do cool things with it. This is
both my favorite model in the cadre, like model-wise, and my favorite model rules-wise. I love that. I love that ability. I love that it's on just like a little 3.5 wound character solo. I love that he's just he has Monster Hunter. So if you target a war beast, or if this model hits a war
do
beast,
extra damage.
You do D3 plus 3 extra damage to it. It's just this little model that you're like, oh, it's not that threatening, and then it shoots its gun, does a whole bunch of damage to a bunch of beasts, pushes a bunch of stuff around in a Spray 10, and then is flung back to D3 plus 1 inches.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is the guy that actually makes me want to get the box the most, because he's the dude I would play in every single game in person, just because he'll do hilarious things, and it's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
So that's Boggs. There's Sully, who is a Pelican.
Yep.
Albatross that's part of it. Sully's big thing is he's like the character Pig Dirge, and he wants to run into your opponent and have your opponent kill him.
Yep.
When your opponent kills him, their entire army gets -1 to attack and damage rolls for a turn, which is crazy. And when he's destroyed, he also kills. He does
models within 2.
A POW 14 to all models within 2 inches of him.
So he's another one of those models that just hits everything within 2, and not the 2 closest models within 2 inches.
Yeah, he'll be cool for scenario play, and he's a guy you would love to go in and have get a cache. He's reasonably hard to kill.
He's speed 7, flying. AD.
I think good players are gonna just wait to kill him to the end of your turn, and if you're able to force them to kill him early on, he's gonna be good. But so I love the model, though. The concept is super cool. So happy to have him. Not sure when I'm gonna play him, but I will definitely give him a go at some point. I tried him in one game. My opponent was very successful at not killing him. So there's that.
He does have a Rat 6, range 6, AoE 2, 12/8 Skydrop bomb, which is cool. I don't think it does a lot of damage in the current meta and the current sort of what people are taking, but at the same time, for a 2-point model that can be really annoying and contest stuff and control stuff, he's not a bad choice.
No, he's not. And I think if you can unlock him, he'll be really good. If you can get Albatross to trigger consistently, that's awesome. And Shadow Tongue likes him because Shadow Tongue can kill him himself.
Right.
By channeling through him, and he's awesome for that. And then that gives you a free POW 14 damage roll, which is sweet.
Yep.
And then the last models are the ones that I'm actually kind of the most disappointed in, which are the Lakabash brothers. they're a character unit of Marauders, basically.
Yep.
And they have they have quite a few rules, but I think, I don't want to bog us down. I think that they, in terms of their like offensive output, they're not too much different than a Marauder crew with a bosun attachment.
Okay.
And I think their survivability is pretty similar.
I mean, they have Sanguine Bond, so
yeah, that's the last thing I want to say.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think they're pretty good, but they don't do anything new or exciting to me that much.
Really?
The one thing is like they have Sanguine Bond, so they can shift damage between them. And there's like a real question of like how good is that? And I think you have to play it on the table to really understand it. So I'm gonna try them at some point, and then I'll know.
So for me, I think that I disagree with that analysis.
Okay.
So I think with the meta as it is right now, and the tendency for people to not take individual wound models, I think that they are a little more prevalent than they were because Dusk will take the, even though they're really high defense, and then Signar's sort of coming back, so you're starting to see a little bit of the single wound Signar models. But they do have Snapfire, which is the thing that the riflemen have for the Dusk cadre. So if they if they destroy an enemy model with a ranged attack with this weapon during its combat action, you can immediately take another shot with the gun. You only get one from each one. So the three of them can kill 6 single wound warrior models a turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's like why I don't like them though. Like a Marauder crew just gets 5 shots. It's just you don't have to kill any models. You get to try 5 times, and they're the same.
I mean,
these are a little bit better rifles, but
it's 3 guys that have Sanguine Bond and 10 wounds apiece.
Yeah, and like a Marauder crew unit with a UA costs the same amount and has like 35 wounds. I don't want to get stuck in this. Okay. Like, I think these guys are interesting. Well, I mean, I guess actually that's my problem is I think they're actually kind of not interesting. Like,
I would take this unit over a Marauder unit in most games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll be like the decision, and maybe they are better. It's a shame though that like there was an opportunity to do something different or new, and they really just feel like they're competing for Marauder slots. So,
okay,
a thing that would be new would be like a truly tanky unit in this faction. This faction doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And maybe these guys are it, and I just can't see it because like Sanguine Bond is such a hard thing to parse. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, talk about your shadow stuff. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. All right. So last unit for this discussion. So, the Shades. So the Shades are another one of those units they are that sort of tricksy unit that's going to be in every army.
They're so good.
So they're speed 7, Mountain Rat 7, defense 15, arm 13. They have a whole bunch of special rules. They have ambush. They have advanced deploy. They have stealth, flying, dual attack, soulless. I mean, they're great. They're
flying high with the cadre. Yep.
Flying high with the cadre. They have repo 3. They're steady. They have unpredictable movement, so when placing unit models during the normal movement, instead of placing them 2, you place them 4. So the one model moves, and then you place the other 2 guys within 4 of him instead of within 2, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, this is the unit the Score and Cav unit have, and it's really good. It's really, really good. It breaks the Mark IV rules in ways that it should not be broken.
Yeah, they also have Fortune Hunter, so they gain additional dice, attack and damage roll against character models. So it makes them character solo hunters, character unit hunters, and Warcaster hunters.
Warcaster hunters, yeah, really good.
Especially at being Rat 7. It also helps that they have a rule that doesn't really make it to units very often. It's only really been on solos in the past. They have Ricochet. So on their ranged attack, so they have a range 8 AoE, a POW 11, no AoE attack that has critical Heartseeker. So with the caster auto affecting Heartseeker on a hit. On a critical hit, gain an additional 9 in the weapon's damage rolls against target directly hit. Discard the lowest die. So it's basically signs importance for the damage roll on a direct hit. Which with the Fortune Hunter, they get an additional die. So it's 4 dice, drop the lowest on the ranged attack, and then they also have that on their POW 11 melee attack. So the thing that makes these guys crazy is that you're sort of, if you look at Regulus and you think about, well, if he gets within 8 inches of the leader, I can then grab the leader model of this unit and I can put him up. And then my caster can pull guys in, and then these guys are speed 7 and can fly forward. And then with his feet, they auto Heartseeker. And so you get this unit that basically is like, I'm desiring to kill your caster. And
they're really good at threatening your caster.
You can be far away from me and I will shoot you to death, or you can be close to me and I will get into melee and kill you to death. And
you really don't want to get into melee with them.
Right. Yeah. It just is, and they on paper they're 9-point unit, yes, but they're not weapon masters as far as you can tell until he pops his feet and then he gets an extra die. But then against character models, they get an extra die to attack and damage. I mean, they just have these effects that stack and stack and stack. And then you add a spell off the spell rack that gives it -2 armor. Or these guys are really threatening, and you will have to watch out for them all the time.
Yeah, unpredictable movement and repo 3 means that, like, they can walk forward, place 4 inches apart, and then repo 3, and the models can each be 7 inches away from each other. So they threaten a huge amount of the board.
Right.
And ricochet means you need to be really careful with your Warcaster, because you just can't let them land 3 ricochets into you if you're not camping,
So basically,
3.
Is if you hit a model that's close by, you can do another ranged attack against another model within 4. So you basically, I attack the jack that's sort of your shield guard, or your shield guard model that's protecting you, and then it bounces into your caster.
It's so funny with a shield guard, because you shield guard it, and then they just ricochet off the shield guard into you. You really got to put your caster in a bubble of 4 inches, no attack me,
or I throw it at your caster, or I hit your caster, you shield guard onto the shield guard model, and then I kill that shield guard model and bounce it into another shield guard model and kill that shield guard model. So I basically kill your defense, or I kill your caster, or I do both.
Yeah,
it's really a crazy ability.
I think it's really good. I really like that this unit has a new niche in the game. I don't think there are many units that I think of as like character hunters, or particularly like support hunters.
Right.
Like, this unit loves to get into your backline and just eat all of the things that are like propping your army up.
And it's an ambush unit with a ranged attack, which gives it a buff on that line.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, really good.
And it's speed 7, and it has stealth, so it can start farther away. I mean, yes, it's a thing that you'll always have to watch to show up in your backfield. And then you'll either have to deal with them, and it'll be really tough to deal with them, or you'll have to just let them go to town and sort of ignore them until they get too close to your caster.
Yeah, I think they seem a little bit frail. They're like 5 health, 15 13s. Yep. But in most lists, with the caster you bring them with, they have warping wind, so -3 range. Or they have flying high, so -3 range.
Right.
Reduced blast damage. Yep. You pair it with a Paragon, and all of a sudden you're really hard to shoot.
Right.
So I think they're going to get delivered, and then you just got to make sure they can't deliver in a way that just wrecks your army. But really cool design. Expensive for a unit that's not going to... They probably have to get all their points in one turn, I think.
Pretty much you commit them and then they die.
Yeah. If what they do is kill your Warcaster, it's like quite good.
Awesome.
So I love everything about them except for the fact that they can like randomly kill your Warcaster. It's going to be hard on new players. Uh, Also, just
Which is,
hilarious in the battle box. They have
yeah,
Fortune Hunter. Everything is a
yeah,
character.
right,
Like,
right.
how does that work? But well, I
I
mean, you know,
I don't know. A lot a lot of the it's weird, but the boxes designed to be the starter boxes for people to learn, both this one and the last one. A lot of the stuff in these armies are for not for new players. They're advanced skills for advanced level players, and they're in the 2-player starter box. It's really bizarre.
yeah, I don't. I can't imagine the audience for these boxes is people who've never played War
Right.
Machine before. It might be people who used to play War Machine.
I mean, yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I
Like,
think it's targeted at the people that used to play.
yeah,
And for
and
the
then they see all these cool rules and they have enough
right,
sophistication to handle it. Like that might be it.
and the people that want to get into the game to be competitive. These boxes
Yep.
are for the most part designed for the competitive player. I think that the Scum half the box, I think certain models are probably designed for the competitive player, where the Shadows box, almost everything is going to go right into a competitive list.
Mhm.
But I think most of these 2-player boxes are basically designed for the experienced player or the person that hasn't played in a while that needs that. Well, for $50 or $100, I can get in and get really cool models that'll be really effective right out the word go.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like this is the start of a competitive list, right? Like I I do yeah, I mean I wonder like I mean Duncan was talking about doing some demo games like 30 point
Right.
stuff or whatever, right? And like gosh, you would need I
I
don't know if you could demo
I
this.
don't want
Could
to
you demo
demo.
the other one?
No.
Like
So the other
okay.
box is um Vilcol versus Kane 4. So it's 2 assassination casters that have like 18-inch threats against each other in a 30-point box. I mean, it literally
Oh.
is. I mean, you could use it as a demo box, and you basically are like whichever side your demoing person wants to to play. You sort of show them how to assassinate the other person's caster, um, really quickly in a couple of turns. But for the most part, neither box is really like a intro friendly kind of box. I think like if you're running demos, you want to be running battle groups or simple
Yeah,
units or
something you can explain, right? Like
right,
something that doesn't
or
have
like
18 layers in it,
can
right?
you imagine demoing a box using the Moraine box for Dusk? Can you
No, I
imagine trying
mean,
to
it's so
demo
weird.
with Moraine? That's insane. Can you imagine trying to demo with Bulkrokes?
You know, mostly except for the fact that you have a 7 Fury Warcaster and
Right,
1 Beast with which to power it.
right,
Like, I mean,
right,
I think it just all points to the fact that that's not what they're made
right.
for, but we probably need to think through what you should do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something we should talk about in the future is how to on the cast is how to get new people in, how to in this environment that we have at the moment. What's the best way to teach people how to play the game? Do you play with the cadre boxes, which are designed for new players, supposedly designed for new players, or do you dumb it down and start more simple than that?
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
mean, they need to at least be functional, right?
Right,
You can't play the Bullcroak box and like explain, well, you just lose 4 life every turn.
right, exactly,
Like, oh
exactly.
man. Yeah. So just like looking at the league, the team that we're paired against this week and our
Right,
team, there's a Shadowfang player on both teams. And
right,
the model that's making it into both lists is Pythia, which is the command attachment, and the
right.
shades.
Yep.
There's 3 sets of shades between these lists.
Yeah, I
So
think you should expect Pythia to be in. Oh, there's how are there three sets of shades? Are
well,
there
it's two. Do we have there's a Chimera player on both teams? So
so there should
and
be
so
two
each
sets. Oh, so one guy has it in 2 lists, one guy has it in 1 list.
in one, yeah. And then I think Pythias are in all 4 lists,
Right, because
which is fine. Like she's
it's
like
a
designed to be that
it's
kind
a
of model.
warcaster
Fine.
attachment that keeps the spell in upkeep spell up in play. I mean, she'll be in almost every list from now on. If no other reason, you buy the box for her, and then everything else is just sort of gravy on top.
Yeah, if you've got an upkeep, which you probably do, she's pretty exciting. Okay,
absolutely.
three Pythias, 3 shades.
Okay.
So. And also 2 snakes having menage a trois together. So, yep. Ugh. We'll talk about that in the future, I'm
yes,
sure.
We will. So, we know that, and we just want to, we're getting towards the end of the cast. We do want to acknowledge that Adepticon just happened, and a lot of new stuff got shown off. And there's a lot of new rules out there, and new programs, and new exciting stuff to talk about. But Alec, our third member, wasn't able to join us tonight, and he's the one that's really excited and really energized by a lot of that stuff. And so we're going to let him be here. And so the next time we get together, we'll talk about all the fun, cool Adepticon stuff. So is there anything else?
Which kind of worked out because we had 2 hours without even touching it. So,
right.
This is good. We get to get through everything and excited to re-engage with Alec. So,
yeah. Is there anything else you want to cover before we end the cast, Joe?
I painted a Madame Moriarty in the scheme of a Skeledirge from Pokemon. I will get you a photo at some point so we can show that.
Yeah. Send me a photo so I can put it on the cover of the video.
It's not my best work, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to paint this model and have a good time. And I did. And
awesome.
And it was nice. A good change of pace.
Awesome. All right, Joe. Well, thank you very much for joining me on the cast tonight. I think it's cool that we were actually able to talk with Alec sort of down out at the last second. And being able to hold
I miss that guy, but I'm glad we could hold it down.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. For those of us listening to us, thank you very much for tuning in to episode 16. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary in the end of April, beginning of May. So we're about a month out. Wow. And so we'll probably have something cool happen then. Thank you very much for listening. Check us out. You can find all our links on our link tree, which is the link to that is in the description. For the Atlanteans, this has been Jay. Thank you very much.
And I'm Joe, and in honorarium of Alec, I should say bye-bye. Wait, does he say that? What does he say?
Bye. Or
bye.
I don't know. Yeah.
We should have done. I'm sorry, Alec. We're no replacement for you. We need you.
We're not. We miss you, Alec. Bye.